Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Let's make some beautiful high-end farmhouse decor using Dollar Tree items. For the first project in today's video, I am using two of Dollar Tree's hexagon signs. They are fairly thick and pretty sturdy. I could not remove the stickers from the bottom, so I took sandpaper and sanded it down as smooth as I could, and then used my desktop mini cordless vacuum to get all that debris up. I love this thing. It comes in so handy. I have that as well as these beads listed in my Amazon store, which is in my description box below if you are interested in getting any of those. I'm using 6 of the wood beads and Folk Arts white Adirondack chalk paint. I'm going to give the bottom of this sign 2 coats, and then I'm going to go over each one of those wood beads with a light coat. I still want some of that natural wood color to show through. And I'll give you a close-up so it just has just a hint of the wood color. I'm not trying to get full coverage on that. I'll paint all 6 of those. And after all the paint dries, I'm going to take Gorilla Glue and apply that to each one of the beads, and then apply each bead to each corner of this hexagon sign. Now, I set something heavy like a Lazy Susan on top of mine with a candle until that glue set up. Once that glue sets up, I can then flip it over and paint the top. So now the glue has dried. It is turning out to be so pretty. Now, it took about 3 coats to cover up this design on the top of the sign. And this is how it looks after the 3rd coat. I am loving how this is turning out. I'm going to set this to the side and work on my second one. I've already painted the sign just like I did previously with about 3 coats of paint on the top and 2 on the bottom. And for the base, I'm using one of Dollar Tree's candle holders. Now, because they are a different white, I want my base to match the top, so I'm going to give this candle holder 2 coats of the white chalk paint and allow that to dry. Now I can attach the 2 together using that same Gorilla Glue around the top rim of the candle holder. And I'm also going to use some hot glue in between those for that temporary hold until that Gorilla Glue sets up. So once I have that in place, I can then flip this over and center it onto the bottom of that hexagon sign. And then I flipped it over after that hot glue set and then put a nice heavy candle on top of it until the Gorilla Glue set. Now you can style it however you want. I thought this turned out to be a very unique, beautiful riser. Most risers that you see are rectangular or round, and I thought a hexagon riser would just be super cute. Let me know what you think. For project number 2, I am using 4 of these wood and metal corrugated frames from Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the piece on the back that holds the frame up, including that metal portion. They pull off really easily, as well as all of the stickers. I'm going to remove that from all 4. And on the front, the clip is held by a tiny little screw. I'm going to remove those clips. And originally, I was going to fill that hole in with some caulking and then touch up the paint, but then I decided to just put those tiny screws right back in the hole, and it is barely noticeable. I also think it gives it just a little bit more charm. Now I'm going to be attaching these frames together to create a box. So I'm going to take the first frame and I'm going to add that second frame to the outside edge. I am using Gorilla Glue as well as some hot glue. Now the hot glue is just going to hold it in place temporarily till that Gorilla Glue sets up. I'm going to attach it to the outside part of the frame, and I'm going to hold it as straight as I can until that hot glue cools. So this is how it's going to look for the first 2 pieces together. And then I'll take the other frame and I'm going to attach it the exact same way as the other side is. So on the bottom part of this, I'm going to add some more Gorilla Glue and hot glue. And again, it does just take a minute to hold it in place to try to keep it as straight as possible because these frames are not perfectly straight. Some of them are a little bit bowed, but that's okay. I think, again, it gives it more character. Now, this is how it's going to look. One side, you're going to have a full frame, and then on the other sides, you'll have a frame, and then you'll be able to see the outside edging of the end frames, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a minute. So I'm going to place that 4th one right in place, hold it till the glue sets, So this is how it's going to look. So one side you'll have those two outside edges for the frames, and then on the ends it's just going to look like one full frame. And this was already the color I like, so I didn't have to paint anything. I'm going to create a bottom using one of these backings off of a Dollar Tree sign where I used the frame but I didn't use the back. I'm going to hold my crate on top of this and then just use a pencil to trace out the inside portion so I'll know how big I need to cut the part to fit inside of the crate. I'm just going to take my utility knife and score it about 3 times on my marks, and then this particle board stuff breaks really easily. So you can just break it where you scored each one of those markings. And then I always like to make sure that it's going to fit before I move forward. So to hold these, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to be using 4 of the tumbling tower pieces to place in each corner. So you're not going to want to put anything heavy in this. If you do, you would certainly want to put like a real piece of wood or something more sturdy for a bottom. I'm just attaching this for video purposes with hot glue, but I do recommend you put something like Gorilla Glue on there so it'll have a little bit sturdier hold for those tumbling tower pieces. And then again, this particle board's a little flimsy, so I wouldn't put anything heavy in there. I'm going to use mine to display some greenery. I think it's very beautiful. It just looks like a beautiful corrugated metal and wood flower box. But you could also put paintbrushes, pens, set this on your desk, whatever you like. If you are enjoying today's projects and you haven't done so already, I would love for you to click that subscribe button and the notification bell. And visit me on all my other social media accounts. All the links are in my description box. To my current subscribers, thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. For project number 3, I'm using 2 of these wire baskets from Dollar Tree. They measure 3 inches by 8 3/4 of an inch by 2 inch. After I remove the tag, I am going to use matte black spray paint made by Krylon. Take these outside and give them one good coat all the way around. I am also using 2 of these glass jars that look like milk jugs from Dollar Tree and some black chalk paint. I get my black chalk paint from Dollar General. I love this stuff. I'm going to go over the design in the very front with the circle and the wording, as well as the top and bottom rim for both of these jars. I'm going to allow that paint to dry thoroughly, and then I'm going to take some white chalk paint, which is the Folk Art White Adirondack, and I'm going to go over this entire jar completely with 2 coats, allowing it to dry in between coats. I also paint the top rim as well as down inside of the rim a little bit and the bottom. And I'm going to do that for both of these jars. Now once they're dry, this is how it looks. You can still see the design, but I want to bring that out. And I started off with my sanding sponge. It's a very fine grit, and it was not bringing the design out as much as I wanted it to. So I took a 150 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to go over this design very carefully and bring out the wording and the circles. And then I'm also going to go over the top rim as well. It's just going to bring that black chalk paint out. So we're just removing that layer of white chalk paint to reveal the black layer. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for both of these jars. And they turn out so gorgeous. I am in love with how these turned out. I'm going to use some twine and wrap this around underneath the top rim a few times. And I'll take this jar and then set it down inside of the basket. So it's going to rest at the bottom of the basket. And then I'm going to hold my finger in place where the twine is in the front. And I'm going to take one end, feed it underneath the rim of the jar through the back, around the center part of the basket, and then feed it back through to come underneath the rim on the opposite side of the jar. Once I have that in place, I'm going to hold it again in the front, and I'll take the opposite end So it's going to wrap right around that center piece in the back. Take the opposite end, pull that through just like I did the other side, wrap it around that center piece in the back, feed it through, and make sure it stays underneath the rim of the jar. Once I have both ends in the front, I'm going to tie that very tightly, and then I'm just going to make a simple shoestring bow. And then once I have my bow made, I can adjust the length of the bow at the top and make sure everything's nice and tight. And then I can trim off the excess twine. I'm going to take that excess twine and create a hanger at the top of the basket. On the backhand side of the two outer wires, I'm going to double knot this on each side, pull it really tightly, and I'm pulling it tightly as I go. Then I can trim that excess off at the hanger. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other basket and jar. So you've got a nice hanger at the top, and then this is how it's attached on the back. And these turned out so beautiful. I just put a few florals in there. I love how this project turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. And I can't wait to share with you how they look with our final project of today's video. Project number 4. I found this beautiful vinyl placemat at Dollar Tree. They also had a trivet with the same design. It's so pretty. I'm using some double-sided sticky tape, and I'm going to apply that to all 4 of the edges of the back of this placemat. I am not using hot glue because hot glue under these type of placemats tend to bubble up or show. You can see the glue from the top part of it. So that's why I'm using double-sided sticky tape. So once I have that in place, I can then just peel all of the paper off of the tape. Then I'm going to set that to the side for a minute. I'm actually going to be attaching this to a cake board. I bought this in a package from Walmart. They're pretty large size cake boards. I'm going to place it on the shiny side because I wanted that cardboard backing to be the back of our sign. For the frame, I am using 5-gallon paint stir sticks. They come in a package of 3, but you will need 4 of these. I'm going to hold them up in place to determine where I need to make my markings for my cuts. And I am trying to line it up where the checks are the same color on each side. I started off by trying to make the cuts with these miter shears, which it did work, but it was a lot of effort to do so that I found that it was easier just to use my handheld miter box saw. Once I had those 2 lengths determined for the outside and top, I just used those as a guide to cut the other 2 pieces. I sanded all the edges down with some sandpaper, and then I'm going to go over each one of these with antique wax made by Waverly, and I do make sure I get those sides and ends. Once I have that applied on there, I'll take a dry paper towel, blend it in, and wipe the excess off. I'm going to do that for all 4 pieces. Set those to the side and let them dry. Once they're dry, I'm going to attach it to the sign using Gorilla Glue, and I'm going to place a nice even amount across the bottom, lining it up with the pattern that's on that buffalo check. Then I'm going to place a clamp on each end as well as in the middle to hold that in place until the glue sets up. If there's any excess glue, I'll just take a paper towel and it wipes right off of that placemat. I'm doing the opposite end of that as well so that I will know exactly where to line up my side pieces. So I'm going to attach the other 2 pieces exactly the same way and make sure that I add clips to all of them. So when I get done, I'm actually going to make sure I have clips on all of the edges where the edges meet, as well as in the middle, and I'm trying to make sure I have equal pressure going across so everything will glue very nicely. So I let that sit for a few hours. Then once the glue's set, I can remove all of the clips, and I'm going to flip it over, and to give it a little bit more sturdiness, I'm going to take a regular popsicle stick and cut that down into 4 pieces so that I can use hot glue to glue these right where the seams of each of those paint stir sticks meet. It's just going to make it a little bit stronger. To create a hanger on the back, I'm going to take a piece of twine as well as 2 pieces of ribbon, and I'm going to hot glue the ribbon over the twine, let that glue cool and set, and then pull the twine as tight as I can without pulling it loose from the glue. And then I can glue the other end down so I can have a nice tight hanger on the back. Then I'm going to flip it over, and it's gorgeous just the way it is, but I'm going to add a little greenery to it. So I'm using some boxwood greenery, and I have pulled them off the stem, and I am clipping off the big pieces at the end. I'm going to use that double-sided sticky tape again to attach these to form a wreath around this circle. So I'm going to apply the sticky tape to the stem at the bottom. Don't peel the top piece of the tape off yet. Line up my next piece, tape that stem down, then I can go back and peel the paper off and push that piece of greenery down onto the sticky tape so that it lines up and blends in. So I didn't use hot glue because I didn't think that the hot glue would really hold on this placemat. So that's why I'm using the double-sided sticky tape. I'm going to repeat this process all the way around where I am taping the stem down, then going back and overlapping it onto the previous stem. And I'll just continue to do this until I get back to where I originally started. Once I have all that in place, this sign is finished. It is gorgeous. I love the colors in it. I love how it turned out. And it is absolutely stunning with our previous project. I think this is a beautiful set. You guys let me know what you think. If you have a favorite out of today's video, let me know in the comments down below. I always love to know which one is your favorite. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch my video. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Please take care, and I will see you guys next time.